Do you ever feel like trading is the loneliest job in the world? You've got Discords, Twitter, endless market chatter. But at the end of the day, it's still just you staring at the screen, making decisions that can change everything. You are listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. I am your host, Agnieszka Wood, a trading mindset coach and a seasoned day trader with over a decade of experience. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. In this podcast, we explore the fascinating world of psychology and the human element of trading. We take a deep dive into different perspectives to inspire you and help you navigate the emotional ups and downs of trading with self-compassion and confidence. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, this podcast is your trusted companion providing support on your trading journey. Get ready to boost your confidence and unlock the secrets to mastering your mindset for success. Welcome to episode 64, Alone at the Trading Screen. And I want to welcome you, Greg, again back to our podcast. I'm so happy to see your face again. Always a pleasure to have you here. And I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
It is fantastic to be back. I had a little bit of a hiatus, but I am super, super happy to get back, especially chatting about the topic of today, because it is something that most traders do really have to come up against at some point in their career, even if they have a community. But sometimes many people do feel as though the isolation just seeps in. So I completely get it.
Fantastic. So, yeah, the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because what I have experienced myself and also what I see a lot from traders is that the dream of trading becomes something that you would say, be careful what you wish for. You know, when people work in their corporate jobs or wherever else, right, with other people, they see trading as this thing that's going to save them from people. It's like, finally, I'll be on my own. Everyone will leave me alone and I'll be the happiest person in the world. Have you experienced that? Have you heard it from anyone?
I know you guys can't see me, but I'm laughing at that because how many times before I even began trading, how many times that I sat at my desk in corporate job and went, God, if I could just get out of here, if I could just learn how to get better at trading so that I could just get out of this culture, just get out of this, away from people that are just so dumb, so annoying, so pressing. They just don't, I mean, all of the words that you could say, I had said all of them. Yeah, all of them. I said all those words. So I am laughing because I have been in that exact situation. And man, I got exactly what I wished for sure. I got out of it and I got behind my desk by myself. And it is a culture shock that most people are not prepared for.
I totally hear you. I remember when I was in that situation, it was exactly the same, you know, and when you struggle, like I've been stuck there for 2 years with my computer fighting against myself. And yes, I have been part of all kinds of chat rooms, which we will talk about in a minute. But the only thing that at some point I wished was like, I just want to be part of the team, like working on something together and have people around me supporting me and that I can like, share my pains and that we all understand each other because there is not really many people that really understand what is it that you're doing, what is it that you're going through, right?
Oh, most do not. And for anyone out there that has actually said to someone and seen the look on their face when you say, "Oh no, I'm a day trader or I'm a swing trader," and people will look at you kind of either with that confused look or that blank stare of, "I don't know what you're talking about." And so
Totally.
there are not a lot of people out there that truly understand what it takes to do this position. And more often than not, when you're chatting with people, you have to find yourself trying to explain in a simple manner something that is extremely trying and difficult. that you have to find your own solution. You have to, figure out how to trade, what works for you, risk tolerance, all that stuff. But you can't say that to anybody because they don't get it.
Right. And you get that look of, oh, so you're the loser, you're the gambler. You have a problem, basically. Are you telling me you have a problem?
Yep. And all of them will say that. I've heard countless times of, oh, so you just gamble every day? Like, heard that many times. The answer is no. No. Gambling would be like, taking, final day expiration on a, option trade and hoping that it goes up when, those types of things. Those to me are more of a gambling risk than actually looking at where charts are going, what the volume is, what your support resistance are, what type of Fibonacci sequencing is happening, all the things that come along with it. But you can't say that to anybody. The minute you say Fibonacci sequencing, they're going to look at you like, what is
Right.
wrong with you?
Right. And the more you try to explain, the more you have a feeling you are trying to explain yourself. And then there's this weird dynamic of like, why am I trying to explain myself to someone like about what I'm doing? Right. It makes you feel like there's something wrong with you, like you're sort of guilty and shame, especially if you're not really making money. Because I remember a lot of times people say, so are you making money? And you also are losing money. And when you are not profitable yet, there is this moment of stillness and you feel like, if I say now, it's like, well, sometimes and then they just kind of drift away and you're like, okay, that I guess was the end of conversation. I don't know what impression I made, but it doesn't look like it was any good impression.
Oh, I totally get that side too. Because when I had the first time I had began telling people that I was even trading, um, they were like, "Are you making money?" And I'd be like, well, at the current moment, not really, but I fully understand that it's going to take me a little while to get to where I can understand, everything that I need to understand in order to be able to become profitable."
Right.
And you'd get that look like, "Oh, okay, sure,
Oh, so you
yeah,
basically have a job that
yeah."
doesn't pay you. You basically have a job where you're losing money. Okay, so you are crazy.
Okay, yeah. So you're nuts.
Right.
Yeah, and that's when the isolation can start to just seep in because the more you try to explain yourself to people who just don't understand what you're doing or the concepts that you're trying to deploy, you feel as though you're just talking to a brick wall. And then you
Right.
start to just rein it in, and then you start to dial it back, and then you start to just not really tell people what you're doing because you're afraid of whether or not you should say, yes, I am trading. They could say, wow, how much money are you making? And then you have to have that conversation of, I'm doing okay, I'm doing well. And
Right.
then you don't want to say, oh no, I made $30 million yesterday. It was amazing. You can't, like, none of that is relevant to the people that just don't truly get really what it means to do this.
Right. And they will be putting themselves into the situation as well. And then you get also kind of awkward situation because they are working really hard for their money. And if you say, oh, I just trade half an hour in the morning. And yeah, this morning I made like, I don't know, $2,000, $5,000, whatever. It's just so out of proportion. And then the conversation stops as well because they cannot put themselves in the situation. They start feeling bad about what they're doing. And
Yes.
it's anyhow, no matter what you say and what you do, it's awkward.
Yeah.
So what I have learned, especially, I mean, now I have a lot of traders in my environment, but with other people who are not trading, I just don't talk about it. And
Yeah.
if they say, how is it going? It's going good. It's going well. Like I really keep it very simple. Um, but the thing that I noticed is that probably because it's such an isolated job, the online world is booming, right? You have all kinds of discords, you have Telegram groups, you have Twitter, and it seems like once you are over that period of I just don't want to have to deal with people, then suddenly you start noticing, oh, you know what? Let me see what groups are out there, like what other people are saying, and then you find yourself in that situation where you are sort of reaching out and trying to be part of all those groups, which creates another problem because you feel isolated. And then when you're part of that group, you feel like you have a connection, But is it really genuine connection? Because those people who are in those online forums, oftentimes it's very shallow, right? So
Very.
you have this feeling you're part of community, but there's plenty of communities where you actually have no connection. And from my personal experience, I know that there are communities that are fantastic, so it's not like, it's
Mhm.
black and white. But from my personal experience, when I started reaching out and started becoming part of chat rooms and Discord groups, and actually my intention was help me. Like, I'm not being able to make money, like help me. So this was my intention to get out there, and this is what I was looking for. Suggestions, like how to trade. Can I just follow someone? Can you just tell me what to get in, where to get in, and where to get out, so that I can make at least $50 a day? It was just act of desperation, and not the genuine connection where you can actually take some value out and learn and grow and feel better about yourself. One of the experiences that I had, or one of the feelings that I was getting from chat rooms, was I felt actually worse about myself, because many people are posting their P&L, or, like, 5 seconds into the market open, they're done for the day. And then I felt like so desperate. Like, I have to push buttons, right? I have to make that money too. Why are they done? And I'm still sitting here wondering what to do. And that was so frustrating. I cannot tell you how much money I lost being in Discords and trying to follow them and trying to be one of them.
Yeah. I I wholeheartedly have. I can echo that same experience. I will never forget. I joined a group, and I didn't do a whole bunch of research on the group before I joined. This is pretty early. After I'd worked with my mentor for a while and got some sort of my strategy down and what I was going to do, I ended up joining a group just to see what it was like. And when I joined that group, I they were talking about, this is the position that we're going to jump into, and here's our targets. This is when we're going to get out. So I was like, oh, okay, you're gonna give like exact numbers. If it hits, you're going to try to fill your order. You already have it placed. Oh my God. Okay, so all right, whoa, all right, let me follow what you're doing.
Right.
And as I did that, I didn't do any recognition that to get into that group, most of the people inside that group at that time were trading with well into $500,000.
Wow. Yeah. And
I
you
was
were just
trading,
beginning.
I was trading with, thousands, like
Yeah.
a few thousand. And so I'm watching them being like, oh, yep, I just scalped for, a point and a half. And I'd be like, a point and a half? I just made like $13. What how is this useful? And so again, once I started to recognize I was way out of my league, I wasn't even in the same stratosphere at what these people were making. And that made me feel like, oh God, I should not be doing this. This is way out. Oh my God, I have to stop this. This is not good. And then that just made me fall back into, oh, well, then I guess I'll just do it by myself then. I mean, that way no one can make fun of me. No one can act like they're better than me. No one can make more money than me. And I'll just try to figure it out. The real root of that isolation was, even coming from the workforce, no one was around you that understood you. So you felt isolated. And then when you jumped into trading, you jump into rooms where people don't understand you and you feel isolated. So finding the right support groups, finding the right discords, the right telegrams, the right rooms where people do understand what it's like to start from the ground and build yourself up, and then continually reference and help those people inside that group, and not feel as though, yeah, I may be trading with, $1 million. You may be trading with $1,000, but that's okay. We're still trading. We're still in the same group. We're still going to try to make money. We're still going to try to move forward. And so the isolation really came from just people not recognizing the place that you're at, and you're feeling as though you're excluded.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience, and that's where I lost a lot of money, because I remember at the time I was trading the strategy where it was shorting extended stocks, and not on the way down, but on the way up. That's where it started, right? And then the strategy was like double up, double up, double up. And then at the end, I was like, I can't double up anymore. I'm out of capital, right? And they're like, oh, well, yeah. And that was it, kind of like, I was like, okay, that's very helpful. I did not realize how much money they were trading with,
Yep.
the same thing as you. Plus, I had no idea that they were hedging with options. And I had no idea about options or hedging or anything like that, how to protect yourself from the other side. So yeah, that was a very painful experience for me at the time. So online forums are very easy to reach out because now you're busy at home and you're working online. So yes, online forums is the first thing you reach out, right? And then you feel like you have contact with all these people, but they are not really physical people and you don't really know them. And because of all that feeling of like isolation, not many people really share on a very personal level. So you are still sort of just a
Mhm.
number or a name in a chat. And the best example of that is many people do not use their own name in the Discord chats. I don't know if you noticed that, but they come up with all kinds of names. And I'm like, if you're really looking for personal connection, give your name, right? But people are very cautious with that. And you cannot make a personal connection if you're not even willing to show your name, right? That's like the very first
Yeah.
thing. Every time you meet someone, the first thing you say is, what's your name? You introduce yourself, right? So that's what I noticed, that connection online might feel like you are connected with people, but actually you are not. And instead of being truly supported, getting that support from people that you are surrounded with, you begin to be surrounded by noise because all those things that are coming into those chats is noise. And it's really very distracting. And then one person says, oh, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. And when you look at those streams, what chatter is in there, how can you focus on your strategy? How can you trade with having that noise in the background? And I think that a lot of people sort of default to that because it makes them feel like, oh, okay, I'm sitting here and now I'm hearing people and it's cool
Yep.
and I feel better, but does it really help you? When I probably was like about a year into my struggle, and I was part of a chat room, and then in that chat room, I met someone, or the guy said suddenly like, "Oh, I live here and here." Right? We started having those conversation, the conversation, because somehow I always try to be very personal with people. It's just who I am. And it appeared that the guy lived just around the corner from me,
That's awesome.
which was just so crazy because the guy who was leading the chat room was like, on the other side of the United States. So we agreed to meet. So we went for lunch and we had like, I think it was the first time that I actually saw a real trader and it was like a unicorn. Oh my God, these people are actually exist. And now we have this conversation over lunch and we're looking at charts. And so he was trading a strategy that was very successful for him. And because I was struggling and, it was not at the moment, but later on, I realized how desperate I was because even though I made a personal connection, I was still looking for someone to just tell me how to make money,
Yeah.
just help me. And there was this sense of, if you're making money, like, why don't you just tell me what to trade?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I that is part of the same exact thing that I had done with my mentor. I when he would open up a conversation with me and start to tell me, okay, so what do you see? How do you see it? What do you see? And I would go through things and then I would just turn and wait for him to, say a better answer. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll go and do that. Okay. Like just shake my head like, oh, okay, there's the answer. Got it. All right. Then let me go back and then I'll go do that. Not really
Right.
taking into account in the very beginning of he's asking you questions because well, he was asking me questions because he needed to know how I was viewing it, what my risk tolerance would be, the way I was seeing it, if I was recognizing patterns, if I could, correctly call out, if it was a third wave of a Fibonacci sequence or whether it was, wave two or, what it would be and was extended wave one. And so he was really testing me on how I would call things out. But what I was trying to look for was answers.
Yeah.
And what he was looking for was to make me give answers.
Yeah. And that's, I think, something to really be aware of. Like when as a trader, you're a trader and you are looking for support or you're looking for a group, you're going out there, just become aware. What is it that you are actually looking for? Because as
Mm-hmm.
we say, for in our experience, it was we were looking for answers. We were looking for someone to actually take my hand and lead me. I was I was waiting for someone to literally tell me what to do. And later on, I
Mm-hmm.
discovered that that's not the way, not in trading, in fact, not anywhere else. But that's one of the reasons why my company is called a head coach, because first of all, yes, you have to coach your own head, but you also have to coach yourself to be ahead. You have to become the leader, because if you are following someone, especially in trading, you are always too late to the game. How many times there was a signal from the chat room that, oh, they're already in. Oh, let me jump in. Oh, wow, yeah, it's a little bit different price now, but okay, it's going. What? They're out? Like when? What? Oh my God! Now I'm losing. I cannot lose, so I cannot get out. And it was just like this constant struggle of being a follower. And when you do that, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. I cannot, like, it really all comes back when I'm thinking about it, how frustrating that was, being there and then ending the day, seeing the chat, everyone made money. At least it looked like everyone made money,
Right.
but me. Then the conclusion at the end of the day was there's something wrong with me, right? Well, what's wrong with me? And that was this echoing in my head. And that's how I was ending the day. And that's how I was beginning the next day as well.
Yeah. I can echo every part of that. And a great way to say that is you're a follower. And that's beautiful because what we were looking for was answers for someone to say, oh, I'm trading. This is, an outside day at the top of a move. And I'm looking at the outside day. I see the outside day. I now know that it's an outside day. I'm going to go short on that. That's what I
Right.
was looking for.
Right.
What you just said, I was only following what someone else's strategy was. So they knew what to do and when to do it. That's why when we talk about the stuff that we talk about, we don't ever specifically tell you hand holding ideas and concepts that you need to get into at this point. We tell you structures because we may not be looking at the same charts that you're looking at. We may be looking at AVGO, you may be looking at Apple. But if we're going to say you need to jump into AVGO, they just jumped, 30, 40 points, wait until you see a topping tail at the top of this and then short. You're now depending on me to tell you what chart to look at, the time frame to look at, the strategy to look at, and the exit and entry plan to look at. Now I'm everything for you.
I think that this is exactly like you said it so well. It's about the structures, and this is part of like the strategy alignment, for example, aligning with your own strategy. So really make it your own, understanding it, and understanding why are you making certain decisions at certain points. This is the part that the confidence comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence doesn't come from heaven, just suddenly come over you and like, oh, and now I'm confident. It comes from your research. It comes from building a relationship with your strategy, just like you would build relationships with other people, because you have to feel confident about what you are doing. And when you are just following someone without understanding why you are making certain decisions, it's very wonky. It's like, I don't really know. I don't really understand. But he's doing it, so I'm just gonna do it because he probably knows better because he's making money and I am not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, especially if you have been in that chat room for a long while and you're still not making money, you have to ask yourself, like, is it really the idea that you're telling me? Is it really working? Because if he's making money and you say that if you follow him and it's going to be good, why are you still not making money?
Yeah.
Because you are following him. So what is wrong? You think it's something wrong with you, but it is not about you. It's about the structure.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the principle, how the dynamic works. And I think the big thing, like if you look, for example, at institutional traders, they don't work in islands. They have teams, they have mentors, they have structured feedback
Mm-hmm.
loops. It's just such a different way of approaching things. Even from my own coaching, I see that sometimes it's not easy for traders to share their trades, especially the ones that didn't go well, because there is this sense of shame or sense of like, oh, I rather don't talk about it. But this is exactly that hump that you have to get over and have someone looking at your ideas. I remember at the very beginning, because my husband has been trading since we've met, and he has been always supporting me. And at some point, people were asking me, why doesn't he just tell you how to trade? Like, why doesn't he just give you the ideas? But my husband understands very well the structures. Like, this is not how it works. You have to figure it out on your own. So he let me to figure it out. He was very supportive, but he never told me like, just get in here or get out there, right? But that's at the beginning, I
Mm-hmm.
was very cautious of sharing my ideas because I felt like he knows, and then he will think I'm stupid, right? It's like, let me just let's hope it works, and then I'll show him that it
Yep.
worked.
Oh, I used to do the same thing with my mentor. He would ask to see some of my early trades, and he would ask specific questions, and I would have that sense of like fear where it would like start my stomach, and then I'd feel like that wave of heat like come over me, like, oh God, all right, I'm gonna have to show him. Oh boy, okay. So I took this trade, and he would go, okay, explain to me why you took that trade, and I wouldn't have an answer, and he would look at me like, okay, now those are your answers. You knew you took that trade and you can't explain why you took that trade. That's why we're here talking, so that you can say out loud, yeah, I took that trade. It was terrible. I thought that, the RSI was at, 79, and that's overbought. I didn't even know. I didn't even look at the history that sometimes it goes to like 93, and that's usually when it tops out. And he kept reinforcing me to look at the basically in a mirror and say, why are you doing this? I can't tell you because, and he used to say all the time, I'm not going to be here all the time for you.
Right.
You need to do this and understand why you're doing it in order for you, if you really want to make this successful, you have to understand the concepts, which is why none of us, in the very beginning, I used to get very aggravated too. Just show me. But we can't do that for you. We can show you a support line and a resistance line and why we're drawing that support line and resistance line. We can say, these three candles have hit in this area, and this is now going to show that, the volume bars are decreasing in selling and they're starting to increase in buying. And that's why you're seeing a support building. We can show you that, but you then need to see that concept and then deploy it so that you build the confidence, and you don't need us to look at every single chart that you have, to look at every single position that you have. Because until you get there, you're going to rely on us, a chat room, anything to validate what you're doing. When what we're trying to do is give you the confidence to validate it yourself.
Right. And that's the part of the freedom that you want, right? You don't want to be dependent on anyone else. Like, people want to leave 9 to 5 job so that nobody tells them what to do. And then they go into trading and they say, please tell me what to do.
That's great. It's true.
This is like, if you really think about it, you fall back into your old pattern. But now you have the freedom to make your decision. You have the freedom to decide, okay, this is what I think, and this is what I'm going to execute, and then I will see if it works. And I think that the biggest problem here is our fear of mistakes, fear of failure. What if it doesn't work? Yes, and that's a fair question. There is a probability that it doesn't work. That's why, as a trader, you do your work, you do the pre-work, your research, you make a thesis, and you say, this is what I'm thinking. That's why you need to do that, because you have to have a certain reason why you are making the trade, like Greg said. So the idea is not to make a perfect plan that you know for 100% that it will work. The idea is to have theses that make that trade the most probable. You're not looking for certainty. And then still, it might not work. But that probability, that thesis, this is exactly what I find fascinating and love talking about now. Like now with my husband, we trade completely different, but we do share ideas and say, hey, what do you think about that? And because we trade different time frames, sometimes his idea is the opposite of mine. And I find it fascinating to look at. It's like, okay, so what is it that you are thinking, so that I can see, okay, does that, am I skewing my vision? Am I looking through my bias? What is in between? Is there anything in between that I place between myself and what the chart says? Or is it just that we are just trading different time frames and I have a different idea? Because one thing that I want you to take away from this is your idea does not have to be 100% perfect, because it's a thesis you're making. It's an assumption. And then you will see if it works. And if it doesn't, you can look at, okay, so what were those assumptions I made, and what did work out, what didn't work out, and how I can do it better next time. It's like this constant journey of research, of being sort of Sherlock Holmes, looking at things, what works and what doesn't, and increasing the probability.
And I could tell you all a specific example. It just happened the other day with Tesla. I mean, the way that Tesla ripped up 21 the other day, to me, what I had seen was in a wedge pattern, and it hit 3 points in a wedge pattern, and I started to recognize, okay, we have a small gap to go down, or this is going to break out like really strong. And at that point, I had taken a small short position because I had seen the way that I was looking at it in the time frames that I had seen. All right, we're close to overbought, but we're not really there. So there is an opportunity for it to break out, but there's also an opportunity for downside. So I had taken a short position, and the minute it broke through the wedge, I got out. So I got out with a very minimal loss. And the moment I knew to get out was because it broke through a wedge pattern, that because I did the homework and because I saw the research and because I had seen what could or could not happen.
So you had different scenarios, and you said, if this happened, this is what I do. If this happens, this is what I do. And not just make a scenario and say, like, hope for the best. I'm just going to jump in here and see what happens.
Correct. And which is the reason why we can't tell you what to do, but we can show you examples that once you have the knowledge, had I not known that it was in a wedge pattern that I had seen, that I had drawn, and the minute it broke out, if I didn't know that, I could have just gone, oh no, I think it's going to be overbought soon. It's going to go back down. I know it is. And then all of a sudden, I'm out with like $100 to $150 loss and then now it's up 21 at the end of the day. I'm now at a major loss.
Right.
Because I didn't recognize what was actually happening to the chart. And when you rely on someone, and if I was in that Discord and I had said to everybody, hey, listen, I'm going to take a really small short position because I think there's an opportunity for it to go back down and check the bottom side of the wedge and then break out. But you have to be aware. You're now sitting and waiting for me to give you the ideas and concepts, say, oh, it just broke out. You got to get out now.
Right.
Now you're not trading. You're doing what I'm telling you. And that's not good.
Yeah. And with those examples, when you're in the chat room, and someone calls the trades, right? Those guys, they have no problem taking a loss.
Yeah.
You had no problem to get out because you knew your thesis wasn't working. What I experienced for myself, and I know that many traders have that problem, is that I did not want to take a loss. So the moment that they took the trade and they got out because they knew, oh, well, it was wrong, I stayed. And I was telling myself the story, yeah, but there was a reason why he wanted to do it in the first place. Maybe he will short it again. And, by that time I will double up. And then, and it was just complete mess because I did refuse to get out. Mm-hmm. And this was also with that trader that he was telling me, the real guy, the real, live trader, that he was telling me, yeah, that this is how I do. And then at some point we were on a call with each other one morning. And I knew that I had to get out, but I couldn't. I couldn't because I was following him. So what did I do? I took bigger position because this was supposed to be good, right? I was supposed to make money. And then like 3 seconds later after a trade, I'm like, what do I do? Because now I'm in still in trade and now it's going against me. And he's like, why are you still in this trade? I am already out. I was like, what? So we did this for like 2 weeks and I was like, no, this is not working. This is just so frustrating. And, he felt bad too. So it kind of messed up the whole relation. So I think you really have to be very aware and conscious, like, how are you stepping into your relationships with other traders, with chat rooms, what mentors you have, and what is your expectation from it? Because as a retail trader, you are working alone. Most people, have some little office, maybe living room, maybe bedroom. There is really no accountability. There is no safety net. So make sure you have someone, whether it is a fellow trader or someone you met maybe in a chat, but then you have a real contact through Zoom at least, right? So you can see each other and focus on improvement, focus on your plan. Like, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And so that you kind of can bounce the ideas and then evaluate the trade so that you can speak it out. So you start building that vulnerability. It is not to show off, but really the intention is to learn. Greg, what do you think that are the costs of isolation, except for the, decision-making pitfalls, because you're very biased if you're on your own? It's like just you and your story, like you said, choose your own adventure, and you can keep telling that story to yourself throughout the day. What do you think? What other things are like dangers? Like if you are isolated, you're just trading on your own, you have no one to share things with.
I think probably two of the most detrimental things is, first and foremost, the voice inside your head. That voice that you have inside your head that goes unchecked, and that can go on forever and go down rabbit holes that you won't be able to get yourself out of. And I think that's probably the most important thing that what a true support system does for you is it takes you out of that isolation to allow you to balance out that voice inside your head.
Right.
And the second side of that aspect is the confidence to be able to admit when you've done something wrong. Because when you have to take ownership and responsibility of your trade, of the wrong or the right side of the trade, both, you then start to figure out how to build a foundation of confidence. So for me, the two most important aspects are the voice inside your head and the accountability and responsibility for you to look at what you've done, verbally say what you've done, and take accountability for the trades that you decided to make.
So good. And I totally hear you, especially like when you talk about the confidence and speaking it out loud to someone, what happened, what you did, what decisions you made, that helps you to build that vulnerability, which then in turn makes it easier for you to take losses. It makes it easier for you to say, okay, I was wrong. Who cares? Like, what's the big deal, right? Like, yeah, I made thesis and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But if you are sitting on your own and you keep building on your story that you have to be right, there is really no one to point you into the direction like, hey, listen, this is what you're doing, right? Because you won't see it very quickly. Like when you talk to someone and you have a certain idea, a bias, and you start fighting for that bias with someone else who says, yeah, but it could also go this way, you will feel it. You will feel your own resistance. Your conversation will be completely different. It will suddenly be defensive and you will start fighting for your own story, right? So it's much easier to notice than when you are doing it, as you say, in your own head. You start spiraling and overthinking, and you basically lack perspective.
Yeah.
And the self-confidence, it's not there because the moment that you are fighting for your right, so to say, and your thesis doesn't work, and it doesn't work many times, then you start self-doubting, like, what's wrong with me? Why is it not working? What am I doing wrong? Right. And then you start trying to build yourself up because it doesn't feel good. When you're doubting yourself, now you're afraid to make any decision, right? So
Yeah.
then that's where the whole roller coaster starts, not just emotional, but also those, behaviors that you start repeating and hesitation and fear, and you start building those blind spots. If you don't have external feedback, you're just circling around in your own little world.
Blind spots, great way to sum that up is blind spots. You'll just keep multiplying how many you have. We all have them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why we need other people to, and maybe that's one of the reasons why people don't like to work with other people, because other people mirror our deficiencies, so to say, our blind spots, however you want to call it, our opportunities for growth, our opportunities to expand. I like to see it more like that. But most people see it as deficiencies, as like, oh, what's wrong with me? And I don't want this person to tell me, right? But other people are mirrors because we are always projecting ourselves onto others. If you say something about other person, it says more about you than about the other person, and vice versa. That's why when you trade, your computer screen is the mirror and it bounces back everything that you are putting out. So the fact that, things you don't like, you will see them in trading. That's what they call demons, right? They come and hunt you. So you start your journey from, I don't want to work with people because they are mirroring everything that I need to learn about myself, that I need to improve about myself. So let me exclude them. Then you start working with a computer screen at home, and suddenly you feel isolated because you're not only seeing your blind spots, but you also don't know how to deal with it, that you have no one to share it with.
Yeah.
Until you find out, maybe I actually do have to work on myself. And then suddenly things become much easier.
And to a lot of people, that is scary. It is it is a very daunting task to be able to have to sit down and go, boy, maybe it is me. I I I need to start taking a look at what I'm doing, and I need to start looking at what I'm saying, and I need to start looking at my risk. And I need to start looking at my actual trading psychology. And oh boy, okay, it is a lot of me.
Yes, that's a Pandora's
Yep,
box, right?
that it is.
Sort of opening Pandora's
And
box.
yeah,
But if you see it that way, because I find that once I opened that Pandora's box, it was much less scary than I thought. And it opened a box of possibilities. It was actually not so much opening Pandora's box, but it was getting me out of my own box that I built throughout my life. And once I got out of that box, there was so many opportunities and possibilities and potential that I am still every single day discovering it and expanding even more. So I actually would like to pose a rhetorical question to everyone who is listening. When was the last time you told another trader the truth about how your day really went?
Great question.
Just ponder on that the coming days, not just 1 second. If you say, I haven't, ask yourself, what was the reason? Why haven't I? What stops me from actually being more vulnerable, from admitting how I'm doing things? Not for shame, not for guilt, but for your own advantage, to become a better trader, to become a trader that is not afraid to take losses, that is not afraid to make mistakes, that is not afraid to look at your own blind spots and expand. So if trading alone can be such a trap, what does a real connection actually look like? And I would like to invite you guys to stay tuned and join us again, me and Greg, for the next episode, as we will explore what kind of connections actually matter.
Oh, this is amazing.
Greg, thank you so much for joining today. And I can't wait to continue our conversation in 2 weeks.
I can't wait to sit down and chat again, because it will be a continuation of the first episode of what we really tried to help and bestow, that isolation can be very daunting and demeaning, but there is a way out.
And this is what we'll be talking about in 2 weeks. So thank you everyone for listening, and talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. If you are enjoying my show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell me what you like about it. Thanks to you, more traders will be able to find me, and together we'll make a bigger impact. So thank you so much. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. And make sure to also check some of the previous shows. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Agnieszka Wood from Ahead Coach. Bye for now.